In our series, 3 Meals, you know what we do. We sample some local favorites while also sampling the minds of voters ahead of the midterms. And this morning, the land of sun, the land of surf, and the land of my one and only childhood. Do we have the picture? Please tell me we do. There it is. Come on. We're talking Florida, of course. That's a parrot on my head, by the way. Long live the parrot jungle. Florida, once the nation's premier swing state, I think that's fair to say. Also fair to say the state is now trending Republican. It had gone back and forth in presidential elections since Bill Clinton was president, but former President Trump expanded his lead here from 2016 to 2020, and registered Republicans, this is historic, now outnumber registered Democrats. So what'd we do? Well, we swung up from Miami to Jacksonville to find out why Florida may no longer swing for Democrats. Miami is where we found Enriqueta's, a Cuban sandwich and coffee spot still making it in Midtown.
You know, every morning. No, to stop here every single morning.
Justin Kaplan starts the day with un cafecito and 2 of these, croquetas.
Can I have what he's having?
I'm gonna have that one.
Yeah?
Come on, it'll change your life.
And for our sake, he added a side of local perspective on Republican Governor Ron DeSantis.
I didn't vote for him the first time. I won't vote for him again. I still think he's been unfairly vilified. And I think that the national narrative and certainly the narrative outside of the state of Florida is absolutely not in line with what's really going on down there.
As we moved inside over a plate of bacon and eggs, we learned something else that Florida outsiders may forget.
There's a difference between Cuban voters and Latino voters. Cubans tend to vote Republican.
Diami Marquez is one of a million Cuban Americans around Miami. And when it comes to Ron DeSantis,
He's a beast.
Why is he a beast?
I like the way he does everything.
and that includes his decision to send migrants from the South to states up north.
I'm an immigrant, but I came legal. I believe in legal immigration. I don't believe in illegal immigration.
We chased that thought with a little fresh squeezed Florida OJ.
Oh, it is really good. I love that.
And walked out with a bag of Enriqueta's famous steak sandwiches. Really good. Before heading for the highway. Driving north along I-95, we hit Central Florida, home of the Space Coast and tens of thousands of new residents, many of whom seem to lean Republican as they register to vote. Our next stop, Pub Americana in the heart of downtown Melbourne, where Dave Hildebrand was kind enough to offer a taste of his fried gator bites.
Very good. There's chili.
But what really gave us something to chew over came from Dave Hoban.
We have our freedoms here.
Yeah.
You know, a lot more than the other states.
He says the economy is a top concern, but a bigger motivator for him is the culture.
What's going to push it is the distribution of values. All these other things and ideas that, quite frankly, are coming up are being forced down a lot of people's throats. So we're going to stand up and they're going to get voted down.
After tucking into a burger and a craft beer, we heard from two women across the room who sounded like they might lean Democrat, especially on the issue of abortion.
Women should have a choice to do what they want. It's not my decision to tell someone else what to do.
But Catherine Graham and Tommy Fryer, both registered independents, like what Ron DeSantis is cooking up on just about every other issue.
He's just like on it, especially with how he handled COVID. Like, yeah, I feel like that was a big contributing factor to it.
I just feel like he's very family oriented. He, cares about the people, doesn't doesn't BS around.
With 2 meals down, we were soon back on the road. Our final stop, Jacksonville, a big political surprise in 2020, when the county flipped blue for the first time in more than 4 decades. It's where we found Tremendous Barbecue and met with owner Terry Roundtree.
How are you? Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Who recently had to make some adjustments.
Increasing cost of operation. What's going on there?
Can I say Biden?
You can say whatever's on your mind.
It wasn't like that when Trump was president.
For dinner, I wanted something a little lighter,
So I'm kind of hoping you've got a salad.
We do have a salad.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Hot dog.
But it has steak and a burger on it.
It also came with a side of nostalgia from Terry's brother Ricky and customer Daniel Quinn as they discussed DeSantis' fight against the so-called woke left.
Before you didn't have to think about what you said. Now you really got to think about it before you say it. It's a free country. It says we have free speech. Why can't you say what you want?
Pretty clear Democrats have their work cut out for them here, and not only in 2022. Terry Roundtree likes Ron DeSantis for governor and beyond.
You like him for 2024?
In the White House?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Over that other Florida resident?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Pretty big storyline developing there. By the way, I got to point out that once we started digesting our food and digesting the day, we realized that on that day-long trip, we spoke to dozens of people up and down the coast of Florida, all in precincts, by the way, that voted for President Biden in 2020. But to our surprise, we did not run into a supporter of Ron DeSantis' Democratic opponent. That would be Charlie Crist. But we did find some Crist supporters last weekend as we stopped by a Get Out the Vote rally he held. Take a look at what they had to say. What is the number one thing that makes you support Charlie Crist? Democracy.
Democracy in every aspect.
How do you think Charlie Crist's campaign for governor is going?
I think it could have gone stronger because the Democrats do not toot their own horns.
What is the number one issue that leads you to support Charlie Crist for governor?
Women's rights.
Women's rights.
So you think Ron DeSantis is going to go further to restrict abortion?
Of course. You're already robbing us of our freedom. And freedom is not free until you're free to make your own decision.
He says he's the freedom guy.
He's not freedom. He has stole our freedom from the state of Florida.
Yes.
So there we go. We promised conversations on both sides of the issues, both parties, and there you have it.
Tony, it was interesting, though, about the Ron DeSantis voters, that you go from one end of the state to the other. And I know you were looking. You only found Charlie Crist supporters at a Charlie Crist rally. It was really that difficult.
Yeah, it was really that tough. At one point, I stood at a stop sign and flagged down every single car to ask the driver who they were supporting for governor. At another point, I went into a diner that wasn't even on our list. This was meal 4 of the day. Went to every table and couldn't find one. That's anecdotal. That's not scientific. Charlie Crist supporters are out there. But it does speak to the fact that Ron DeSantis, in the last 4 years, after just barely winning the governorship in 2018, has done a really strong job of consolidating support.
Thank you, Tony.